The romantics see that every rose has its thorn, while others notice that every thorn has its rose. Being gifted a rose weds it to love, but capturing the beauty in your own hand can be a fight. Rushing in leads to shredded hands. The way is the gentle way. The thorn protects the rose, for you cannot defend something without posing a threat, without possessing the ability to hurt an aggressor. Nature shows us this. The thorn never stalks or seeks out skin to bite. It simply is, and does what it does. Some bulldoze past the fence to steal the bloom. Others shy away from the thorn and forego the flower. Can you see yourself in either type? It's essential to know this as we see others through ourselves. Is it not also important to recognize people who have no care for the rose or the thorn? They simply want to possess it, with little thought for the damage they leave in their wake. We used to call this life-denying desire evil. We recognized in our simple way that live is evil backwards. To allow life or deny life. I allow evil when I seek to own life, to possess it. Evil in your own home can offer a cruel gift. When there are no escapes from this, you lose your mind, or you use your mind. By watching, by studying the destruction, the element and aftermath. Through your pores it enters, to teach you, to rot you, and someday, hopefully, release you. Handed down from ages gone, we're gifted an antidote. For older times tell us to name the spirit, to subdue it. Overcoming this poison allows for a different vision. Losing this fight is to succumb to possession. You see, evil cannot hide from eyes that are paying attention. And so, if you'd allow it, let's take a walk through time, and, if you will indulge me further, I will share an experience that carved sense into me. I will offer you my 14th year of life. Evil had burrowed into me. A corrupted nature, spoiled by evil, devours feelings of safety, and it devours feelings of trust. The earlier the exposure, the deeper the infection. We see this in troubled people, often exposed to evil more than most. Trouble starts when a child has their boundaries destroyed. They lose trust and respect for their own broken fences and, by extension, others. What is to be done with children forced to this path? A good kick up the arse would sort them out, sure it done us no harm. Welcome on stage, everybody, the adults with no learning for the child, nothing to offer. Beat them until they learn, instead of trying to reason with them. This solution is the very cause of the problem. The old adage of insanity and repetition we will remember. Waywardness needs guidance, not force. It may work in making a child afraid of you, enforcing compliance, but it also teaches them that violence is permitted when controlling others. These are lessons that have been learned by many, with many yet to learn, as lessons drift loose without sense to take them. With home's safety breach, outdoors became our domain. A band of young boys, distrust and hope in their veins. Mistrust in boundaries kills the belief in them. With no boundaries to restrain youth's wildness, wildness draws the attention of the boundary guards. Untamed wildness turning criminal. Tensions developed, steadily intensifying. The old kick in the arse we became very familiar with. Choking, punching, violated bodies and slandered names. On many days and in many ways we were dehumanized. Evil had now found its way to the outdoor domain, stepping out of our front doors with us and watching us. School offered no reprieve, where family names doomed kids in many teachers' eyes, so school was skipped, our own rules created, and the rest be damned. All systems became seen as untrustworthy. We were a law unto ourselves. We made our own money, we decided what we wanted to do, and we did it. Courts were just as deaf to a troubled voice. Punishment with no listening. Lessons were missed. On this September, Gardaí made arrests. 3 friends put in cells for the nights. Only 2 would leave alive. The life was stolen from the 3rd. Life support for a few days, but to no avail. 1 teacher showed concern, froze in silence from the rest. A flicker of innocence denied me the reality of the situation. The friend's uncle grounded this quick. Sitting and thinking, I saw the uncle approach one day. I hoped he might confide or ask how we all were. Instead, name calls and threats if his nephew lost his life. Blame was delivered, widening the divide between adult and child. Brian's life hung in the balance until a call to a friend's door tipped the scales towards death. 1 crying, 1 cold, an embrace between boys. I returned to my home, played music, and just sat. I sought something in a relative's house, found nothing but blame for my friend. Anger didn't follow, just silence as I left. Home was now a long, heavy walk away. My poison was a cold one. It made it difficult to feel. I watched and listened to nonsense from adults, offering nothing of any use. Me and my friends, we all retreated. The burden would be ours alone. With no parents nor adults around, we kept vigil by his side. We took shifts at his coffin, his face bruised and yellow. The scalpel scars spoke death to our young eyes. We thought it important that at least 1 friend remained. To guard, to protect, to say goodbye to our stolen friend. Adults were missing, guidance was empty, none. Condolences from enemies, yet from our teachers just 1. Light from the darkness, a care for us had shone. Our friend's mother showed care for her son's friends. She asked us permission to rest him out of town, for that is where his grandparents had been laid down. Naturally it was her decision, but her asking was medicine. I remember her voice and words. This momentary sharing of pain stopped it from crushing me altogether. I remember that she treated us as important. We felt blame, shame, and guilt. His mother's words eased it a little. Not only were we seen, but we were made feel our wishes mattered. The day of the burial, out of town as it was, we were offered no lift, but that same uncle redeemed himself. He brought us all to the grave. Eye of the Tiger played as our young friend was lowered down. A hand was put into mine, a kind neighbour, same age, but the poison dictated now. I was beyond able to accept comfort. I hadn't learned how. With the burial done, the journey home a fog. I hoped for something from the friends gathering. What I didn't know, just something, anything. Naturally only silence and anger, which was not what I needed. Instead I sought the softness of female friends, but it did not offer anything which helped. Home was to be my cave for the next while. Maybe in school I thought I'd be asked how I am, if I was okay, but this was not to be. Life rolled on as if nothing had happened. I was once a messer in school. I was now just in the room. Barely lasting full days, physics feeling unimportant in the grand scheme of things. Home was chaotic, but at least I was alone. Others' thoughts seemed empty to me, and to my own world I went. Books were read. Home medicine was chosen. Endless nights of just thought. The poison made the loneliness cold and tolerable. Few feelings crossed the threshold to awareness. Friends shared what happened that night in the station. Hearsay it was claimed and dismissed by most. But we all knew. You see, violence from the Gardaí was not shocking to us. We all felt the reality of being cornered by vicious adults, smirking as they hurt us. But to many, a guard killing a child was just a non-starter. Excuses and blame were thrown around more than compassion. Well, he shouldn't have been in trouble then, should he? We'd hear. Sick people permitting slaughter of children. Nothing new from Irish people. These excusers are still among us. We had heard it all and we each had our fill. Further from society we moved, freewheeling downhill. That one night spider-webbing life's paths like a shattered pane of glass. Paths diverged away from normal. Lives were changed, friendships not retained, families infected with the venom from the arms of the state. Faith and justice dwindled, becoming dwindling hope. Kids turned to Sisyphus, bound to burdens beyond their capacity. Where parents lapsed and Gardaí failed, to the courts this would be turned. At this time it was accepted by us that this would be covered up. Nobody cares about any of us. Why would that magically change? Yet hope is rarely killed, so I protected the seed. In my cave I began lifting weights. Getting strong seemed to take on an importance to me now. I remained in school, though in patchy stretches. There were no highlights in those years. Instead, the years got dark. Brutality ensued among us young men of the town. It was making the newspapers. Gardaí shocked at the levels of weapons and violence. The irony was lost on them, their part denied. Wounded, abandoned young men with no respect shared between them and the law is an eruption that any wise eye could see on the horizon. Something very wrong was happening with these guardians of the peace. Young men were followed, stopped, and beaten. Threats were plenty, empathy none. Imagine, if you will, for a second, your colleagues are found with a dead child at their feet. No questions posed, the answers decided. Target and abuse that child's living friends, never for a second thinking of the destruction their mentality imposed on them. I learned that court protection could bring the evil out in many who pretend, play the good fellow with others, brutalise and terrify wounded children in the dark. Fear was sown into us. Our homes weren't stable, now our streets became unsafe. Teachers, neighbours, Gardaí ridiculed and blamed the kids. Pretend sympathy was an but he shouldn't have. We are constantly told, directly or not, that the system is good. It sees what is right and makes sure not to excuse wrong. Adults are smart and are better thinkers than kids. I remember the remaining illusion fade away in this time. I had lived with evil, which neither apologised nor denied. There's an honesty in that, it's predictable. But this new evil was a more sinister type. I watched it, and in my young mind I studied it. I absorbed this. I remembered this. Time rolled on. School must be finished, if not all was attended. I was there on my own. I had never known the ability to bond under anything but pain, and so friends were something that school did not give. I would stand in the yard by myself thinking, or I'd just leave. Months melted in years, and two boys from the cell had their time to say their piece in court. A nonsense from the start, although the boys stood their ground and resided in truth. The framework for inquiring was to keep conclusions out, not bring factors in. And so the jury's ruling was limited. For the death of the boy, no culprit would be sought. Instead, we lean institution and see if procedure was in doubt. The scapegoat was offered as the cause of my friend's death. A fight some days before his arrest was deemed to be the crucial blow. Testimony was given on Gardaí aggression. Hearsay was offered of my dead friend's last words. They gave me a hiding, he said, spoken from his cell. That counted for nothing in the eyes of these courts. We're not here to find truth, and investigation it is not. It was declared that there was no proof of the time of his fatal injury, so it would not be investigated. Conclusion arrived at before process starts. Isn't that all too familiar? I felt this, I watched this, I studied it, and I remember it. We seen it for what it was. My friend's autopsy allowed for the potential his skull was cracked in the cell. Our reasoning was sound. If it was the other way around, the case would be over in a day. Two-tiered justice system. Of this there was no doubt. This was a lesson seared into our minds. The fallout was immense. This burden killed some and broke the rest. None of us made it out with smiles. We were not even worth justice. Wonderful Ireland cared not. You see, we were children of violence. Shy away from it we did not. For violence is action, and seeing not a soul claim the flag of action against corruption cemented the feeling of abandonment in us. The lessons from this are many, though this story be but one. I learned that evil can hide behind uniforms, policy and courts, that a child's life was worth nothing if it was inconvenient. People won't care when it's not one of their own. This mentality is protected by good adults in action and coward support. Children are abandoned, left to wither and die. We may have grown to have men bodies, but our minds were buried that day too. The media is no better. Obvious questions never asked. And time rolls on with our filthy hands uncleaned. We all bear the burden of this. Justice mist can reverberate across a nation, devouring its foundation from the ground up. But we can tame this poison if we call it by name. I see evil in my people and wish it were not, but action is needed, not more excuses being made. Let us leave them to the weak because it murders hope and goodness in the people. It may not be immediate. Its waves erode one generation at a time. Trust in law, society, and standards crumble, with nobody willing to stand in truth becoming the norm. We are infected and we must never allow that to go untreated. 23 years later and these lessons remain. My friend's life was taken, with many following to their own graves. Yet those who remained gained an eagle-like vision when it comes to the sinister. We spot it, we know it, and we can teach others. Pain and loss need not be in vain, but we must be open to the hard learning of lessons we once refused. Just as we had to, evil was named and its game was known. It seeks to infect your view of who you are, giving you its mind. Having wrestled with this filth and seen it for what it is, we can never be fooled again, and the choice becomes ours again. We can gently move through the thorns and finally be with the rose.